Shit. Here we go again.
Hello and welcome out to this episode of Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, WebDave, David Anthony, big fat guy in the chair, whatever you want to call me. That's cool. I answered everything. I am very, very happy to have with us today TIMDOG from RDX. Buddy, how are you doing, sir?
Good, good. Happy to be here. I'm a fan of you. I see what you do with your content and how professional you are. I took a look at you when you approached me, and you do a good job. So I'm happy to be here and give a little bit of a chat and have a nice time.
Wow, sounds great, man. And thank you so much for that. That means a lot. Um, like I said, I feel pretty blessed to be able to do this and to kind of get on this journey. And there's so many great members of the community, and by listening to different podcasts and different different outlets and venues, and I'm thinking, people want to know more about these people, and I know I did. So this just kind of gives an opportunity to kind of dig a little deeper and to find out a little bit about maybe what makes you tick, or maybe something people just didn't know about you. Just because like I said, I think like I said in the green room ahead of time, I have a lot of respect for your opinion and what you've done in the community. And so this is going to be fun. Let's get into it. Tim Dog, let's see what I guess. Let's kind of start off with like maybe what kind of maybe the first job or first jobs you've had, or maybe some of the education you've been through in your life. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I worked when started working at 6:15 at a place called Grand Union Supermarket. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a chain. So I started working there. Went to obviously graduated high school. From there, went to Nassau Community College for hotel management for 2 years. In that 2 years, I actually worked with a vendor who used to sell like produce at a Hunts Point Market. We would go into Hunts Point Market and we would sell produce out of it to restaurants after. So I got to know the New York area from the Bronx to Brooklyn to Queens to sometimes Westchester, just all around New York. Was a good experience. And then from there, graduated college or 6 credits short or whatever, because I came into my current job, which is 26 years ago at Verizon Communications.
Wow.
Yeah, there I worked in doing special services, which is at the time pretty cool. T1s, T3s, all types of different circuits, lotto circuits. From there, I went and worked in FiOS for 12 years, and now I'm in like my own private Idaho. We're doing copper, the old stuff, like the old stuff which pick up the phones
Hmm.
out in Southampton, because out there they don't have fiber optics. They don't want also they don't want the cell towers because of the way it looks. It's
Right.
very it's a very beautiful place. But it's a good job. I'm very happy. Got a couple more years, or maybe more. But I'm very grateful for my job. That's basically how I started with that. And that's pretty much my career up to this point.
That's
Probably
cool.
work a couple more years and then figure out what I want to do.
Then it might be time for retirement or or a career
Yeah, I
change.
could retire
Nice.
or just work it, until 62, or
Hmm.
retire and try a different thing. I've thought about retiring and doing what you're doing, maybe do vlogging and stuff like that. I do believe I can make money there,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Something tells me if I'm going to do that, maybe I should just keep it where I'm happy right now and just keep making, the money that I'm making. But that's 5 years away. I got to get my daughter through college.
There you
And
go.
then once through there and all that stuff is good, then I really start to think, I can't believe I'm at that point of life. I can remember like yesterday when I was buying Xbox and playing Sega Master System and all that stuff. As it's pretty crazy how time flies though, and here we are
Yeah, it does.
today.
Oh man, you were so right. I mean, like my first console was the Atari 2600.
Yeah,
And
mine
then
too.
to think of the technology and where little crappy controller that thing had to where we're
One
at
button.
today. Yeah, exactly. One button and this analog stick you had to fight with. The joystick was,
Yeah.
ugh. But yeah, man, it was, and then now it's like, you don't even need a controller. Somebody
Nah,
head
use a touchscreen.
you know,
So,
it's crazy, but technology. But it's amazing too, and I love it. I'm so glad to that we're in the age that we are as far as being able to enjoy, what gaming has to offer and what's coming up to us. Well, let's
right.
I guess if you don't mind, a little bit about I guess maybe what was your first console or what was your first experience
Yeah.
with gaming? Was it PC, arcades, console?
I'll, I'll give you my whole rundown, just like I just did there. Um, like you, Atari 2600. Then from Atari, I went to, I believe, the Sega Master System.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, if it was a Sega guy, had all the Sega Saturn, Sega. So I was, as I'm kind of a fanboy for Xbox, as you would say, I was definitely a Sega fanboy. I had Nintendo at one point, but mostly had the Sega systems. My cousin had Nintendo, and that was our excuse to go over each other, have sleepovers and stuff. He
Mhm.
would experience the Sega Master System or the Genesis at the time, and then I would experience the Nintendo consoles. From there, had a PlayStation 2. Really was never a Sony guy. I was actually after I had a Dreamcast. After that died, um, well, I forget how the timeline went. Well, I had a 3DO, so the 3DO was, I guess, before that with Trip Hawkins as the CEO.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
crazy. I remember
yeah, I
those.
was a big 3DO fan, Road Rage, and love the technology. So
Mhm.
I used to always buy the consoles the first day that they came out. And how I became an Xbox fan is funny because I was going to school to CCC, which is Computer Career Center
Mhm.
in Garden City, New York, and it was basically a school that taught Novell and it taught operating systems, but they had a real similar to what you have now. They had a real dislike for Microsoft, and they would kind of badmouth them. And I was kind of always the guy that, was like, why? I double took twice on that. So when I heard, became like a kind of interested in Microsoft. So I was a Microsoft guy, and then or a fan of them, like the operating systems at the time when they would come out on PC, or the updates, 95 and then 98 and then Windows 2000, which was horrible. But
Mhm.
uh, so then I heard Sega Xbox was coming out, and I remember at the time I was working, I didn't have that much money. I had to wait 2 weeks, and I got the Xbox base system, and that kind of jolted me back into gaming really strong. And I was really happy with the Xbox. Um, and I came across a game called Halo. I saw this game look cool, and I asked the guy at the desk at GameStop. I said, "How's this game?" He goes, "That's the last one we have. So if you want," it says, "everyone's buying it, everyone's loving it." I bought it and took it home and instantly became in love with Halo and Xbox. And from there, I've always owned all the systems. I own PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. I've also had PC. So from there, I was an Xbox fan, and then Xbox 360 came along, and then I started getting on the social feed of the portion on actually in forums. There was a forum called Systemwars on the GameStop website, and it was
Mhm.
really popular. And the thing about it was is that when you would put a comment back in the day, you would have to wait like 2, 3 hours for somebody to respond. But on this site, it was instantaneous. There was always somebody. It's kind of like Twitter.
Mhm.
So I started there, made a name for myself as ProjectNatalFan because I basically went against the whole forum and said Connect was going to be a success. I turned out right, kind of, ruffled some feathers there, got them upset. They banned me, then they reinstated me, so on goes on. But then Xbox One came. At that time, I still was into gaming, but what happened was is there was a site called NeoGaf, and they were bad mouthing Xbox, and they saying some things that were really factually incorrect, and it's getting passed off because the site was getting notoriety.
Mhm.
And that's when I went on to Twitter, and that's how I became noticed within the community and with the executives, because I would fiercely fight with them. And that was 2013. Now
Hmm.
it's almost been 10 years since then, and
Wow.
here I am, Xbox Series X generation.
Hmm.
It's just a gamer in general. The community, Xbox community is awesome. Know many people in the community. Don't ever think who I am. I know I'm just one of the guys. I could have 70,000 followers. It makes no difference. That's just maybe a call that I've been around for a long time. It means nothing, but I'm just a regular guy, and I think that I've made a lot of friends, and I've made a lot of people that that I'm friendships for life. So
Hmm.
gaming in general has given me a lot, and Xbox community in general also has been very good to me, which is why I'm always open to people like yourself who are open. Just a gamer in general who's doing a good thing. And like I said, I checked your shows out; they were very good. I like
Thank
people
you.
like that, and try to help them out. And they're on their way, and soon you'll be on your way. It's just more or less about being consistent and not being negative.
Hmm.
Sometimes content creators, want instant success. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
Takes a lot of time, takes a lot of breaks, and you just got to stick with it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I tell you, um, I do think you're a little humble. In other words, I think, I mean, yes, you are. You're just a man. I'm just a guy. You know what I mean? But I mean, you've been in the community, like you said, a long time, and
Very long.
and you do have some really good friends in the
Yes.
industry that, I mean, you play games with, and you've talked about it on RDX. That's where I know you from mostly, but we'll
Right.
also get into some of these other, the podcasts and shows and stuff that you've done too, because it's pretty amazing. But
Mhm.
um, I mean, come on, Tim. You're a nice guy and you're a good guy, and that's the thing that's really awesome is that, and like I said, I do greatly appreciate you being on here today because I know, you're in demand, and that
Yeah.
yeah, and and sometimes you have to make time for gaming because
Yeah.
so and that's awesome. So well, let's kind of turn a little bit and I guess what was your first experience in podcasting? I know you said you did it got on
Okay.
Twitter, but how did that come about?
That's very interesting. That's yes. So I made this reputation up from Twitter, as I
Hmm.
explained, and a lot of people were. Now, let me preface this. Phil
Sure.
actually one time had me blocked because when I first came onto the scene, I was absolute Dave. I was crazy. I was, what it was is just that I had this thing in front of my computer, and I said, you know what? I don't care what these people think about me. I have my friends, I have my wife, I have my
Right.
family. What the hell? So I would write outrageous stuff. And a lot of time it was joking, but sometimes I would really get pissed off, or I would get into a fight. And I'm from New York, and I have a way, as like my wife says, I have a sharp tongue, or I could be, I could be, really mincing with my words. And I kind of like was like that, and I was like that on Twitter. So there was a lot of people like, who the hell is this guy? So what happened was nobody really knew me, like I said, on the podcast side. So what happened was is Dustin from, oh shit, I can't remember the name. Uh, it was a podcast. He's gonna kill me too. It's my first podcast I ever did.
That's all
Xbox
right.
Uncut. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Xbox Uncut, and it had Dustin Vern, and a couple of people, and they had me on. And I remember when I had it on, I took it very serious. I was like trying to speak, as best as I could. Really worried about saying or doing things like that. And I took it very serious. I remember being like even nervous
Hmm.
going on it, and they gave me that opportunity, and and I'll tell you the rest of the way it goes. Like everyone else, they had me on the one show, and then they were like, "Wow, you want to be a panel member?" And at that point, I was like, "All right, I'll be a panel member." And then from there, that wasn't the most popular podcast. Kind of was like a cult following. They did a very good job. It was a great podcast, but it just didn't have the popularity that my other podcasts had. Then
Mhm.
what happened was, again, so I had that going. I was doing podcasting, and it wasn't a big thing. And then again, something happened with NeoGaf. Something happened where Thuway or something like that, and BGST Zaire approached me, and we were always kind of friends on Facebook, and we had known each other before any of this. So he approached me. He's like, "Yo, you got to come on my podcast and you got to explain the situation." And BGST now is a really big podcast. Like, it was
Mhm.
really popular, and maybe my most popular podcast. It's up there with RDX. I mean, it was like BGST, and everyone watched it, and it was really on the edge. People were getting in trouble because Mooch, you guys know Mooch. He
Oh
would say
yeah.
things. Yeah, he would say things. He got in trouble. Crap gamer. It was crazy. So, but anyway, they got me on the podcast, and the podcast was a hit. And again, they said, we really would like you to be a panel member. So I turn on, I say, you know what? Okay, this is a big thing. I really should go on this. Went on BGST, was there through its most popular time. And as you know, as it's chronicled, some of the crazy shit that went on there. But it was really a number 1, 2 podcast. But it had a lot of views, but it also had a lot of opinions. Even the Xbox executives at the time were kind of leery of it because it was so on the edge. I mean, Mooch
Mm.
right now, and I love Mooch. We're friends. He's like completely opposite. He's like, now he's straight A, but he at the time was really like, he was just he was very funny, but he had opinions that pissed people off really bad, and they would even want to come on the show and debate him. But from there, was there for 4 years. Then I started with TXR with Rand, Southbound. Then we added Maka, and that got very popular. Then that went by the wayside. There was a whole internal thing that happened there. It was kind of
Mhm.
crappy what happened. And
Mm.
then same thing. Went on RDX one show. Was always friends with Dealer. Went on the show again. Everyone fit really well in.
Oh yes.
The next day, they asked me, "You want to be a podcast?" And yeah, RDX is still like raring to go. I mean, it's been very popular, especially it's been a top podcast. I mean, it averages even to this day 1,200 people coming there. When we're real in the hot season, when there's like new consoles and there's stuff that's coming out that needs explanation. We were up as much as 5,000 view concurrence. 100,000 podcast views in a week.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so I really made it a way for that. So to be honest, I've been on, and I still do TXR. It's much more low key, but very consistent bunch of guys that just really want to talk about gaming, and they don't really want money. They don't want to. They just like a Sunday night brouhaha.
Mhm.
But it's just something where I've had a lot of success with podcasts, and to me, my main thing will always be Twitter, and that's always kind of my personal thing. I would take that is like the most that I take the most serious.
Mhm.
But as the podcast, I do that for the community and for the people within the podcast. I'd like to see Dealer do well, and when BGS Zaire, whoever it was, you know what I mean. It's
Mhm.
been to see how well those guys have done, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole entire thing that went on with the podcast,
Mhm.
and still doing it.
Yeah.
There might become a day where sometimes I think that maybe I should just do something on my own, where I do, something where it's on my schedule, talk about what I want.
Sure.
I've never talked about sports really, but I'm a huge, as big as I'm a huge Xbox fan. I'm
Mhm.
probably one of the most notables, as people know. But I'm such a big Mets fan, such a big John, mostly Mets, but I'm just a huge sports fan in general, and I haven't yet had the chance to really been a part of something where I can discuss that, and that intrigues me a little. But for now, doing what I'm doing, happy at RDX and TXR.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, I have to say, as you know, as an outsider looking in, one of the many viewers that watch your show, you guys, because Dealer, when he, I guess asked you to be on as a permanent member, you guys have such a great chemistry. I mean,
Yeah, he's great.
you and Fonz and Zocker and D-Batch, I mean, and Dealer, it's just
Right.
it's wow. I mean, it really is good because I mean, you guys are always, you're not at each other, but yet you have respect for each other, and there's times when, okay, you have your opinion that's different than somebody
Yes.
else's, and that's good, and that's a good thing. And you guys are still respectful, even
Yeah.
though you may have different opinions,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it I mean, I'll tell you, if an episode of RDX went for 3 hours, I would listen to the whole thing. I know you can't do
Thank you.
that, but I'm just saying, I'd be like,
Well, they know me. I
"Eh."
get crazy. My rules always been through podcasts. 2 hours, I'm checking out, man. And I
Yeah.
get nasty after those 2 hours. Like I'll start to get pissed off. And the New York side of me comes out. I remember I
Yeah.
had a big fight with Dustin about that one time because, I mean, Xbox Uncut would do 4 hours, and I would be livid at like
Yeah.
3 hours. Like just because it's just something personal with me. It just something clicks after 2 hours
Yeah.
where I'm like, I could be on playing Xbox, or I could be hanging out with my wife. What the hell? This is
Right.
too much.
Yeah.
But they all know that with me. So
Yeah.
every podcast I've been to has pretty much had a 2 hour limit. I also was on PK Blam's first show with Aaron Greenberg.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. I was like, "What? How did that come about?
Yeah. Me
How
and
did
him
that happen?"
we were just friends on Twitter, and
Yeah.
I actually love his format, and I think that his format, if this was networked or on Sirius or something, I think that his
Mhm.
format really fills it. Like to be honest, I feel podcasts should be in a way 1 hour.
Mhm.
It's very hard to do it when you have a panel of five, or even
Right.
because people want to make points, and I get that, but I feel like you can, if you could get it where it's like an hour 15, and you can get all your points hit. I
Mhm.
feel that that's the best way. That's just a personal opinion
No, it's
because
kind of the sweet spot, right?
yeah, but the analytics really show that like after an hour and 30, you start to get that bump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've seen it where we're 1,500 on RDX, and then hour and 30 comes, and something comes up, and or whatever reason,
Mhm.
people come home or whatever, and it jumps up to 1,800, 1,900,
Yeah.
and then we notice that stuff. And you're always like, oh, okay, maybe we should keep it going, or if we have a topic that we haven't touched, we'll go into it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, this year particularly has been very hard on podcasters, specifically because we're talking about legal shit. We're talking
Oh yeah.
about stuff that just gamers do not want to talk about. And quite frankly, Xbox, if you're Xbox centric, Xbox has been on a holding pattern for pretty much the whole year since the ABK was
Mhm.
announced, because they wanted to be super careful. They didn't want to have misnotions or things prop up, whatever it was. They were, from the start of this whole thing, they were pretty nervous, and obviously as it's been going on, you can see why, as it's already been
Right.
blocked and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been hard to do podcasts just because there hasn't been much information this year. There's been a lot of games, delayed because of COVID.
Mhm.
But I do believe 2023 is going to really spark up. I'm getting hell to saying every year I sound like it's Groundhog's Day, Tim, because you're saying wait. But I mean, next year, and I think that we'll find out they're going to have a show soon, or some type of announcement that they're going to detail what they have coming. Next year for Xbox really should be the sweet spot, and make up for which has been a very light 2022 as far as AAA games
Mhm.
or
Yeah, that's
exclusive.
That's what I was going to ask you about at some point. I mean, that's I don't want to. I know that you. How can I say this without? I mean, you sometimes you're privy to some information that maybe not everybody else is privy to right away, and that's
Mhm.
great. And I'm definitely not trying to. I would never. And please don't. So I'm saying this right now out
No,
loud.
I understand what you're
So
saying.
don't.
Don't
I
be
don't. I don't
worried. Don't worry. You're being
okay.
very respectful.
Well, I did.
Just
I
say
definitely
it.
want to be because, like I said, I have much
You're not
respect
gonna
for
get me
you.
in trouble either, because
Good.
at the
Good.
end you just say I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think he checked out. I don't know what happened. Lots of cold medicine that night. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but yeah. So but I guess I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. But if you don't mind,
Sure.
let's kind of what are your feelings about the situation now in gaming, and then what do you think things are going to be like a year from now? I mean, just obviously it's this is all kind of a guessing game kind of thing, but I mean,
Right.
what are your hopes, or what do where do you think things might go? Because like I said, I respect your opinion.
Right. Well, for Xbox, I really feel that they have to have a big year because, as I noted, they've had notable delays. They've had the Activision deal, which kind of overshadowed everything.
Hmm.
Um, but for them, they really just, and I think, like I said, I do believe that there's going to be a show of some sort or some type of tell all. Now, that's not myself being privy to any kind of inside
Right.
information, but I will say that I was kind of tipped off that they were going to be light at TGAs, and
Mm,
I think that might have backfired on them
a little bit.
because there's several things that are going on here. Now, I don't know why they did that. So I had known about it for about a month before. So I remember when I heard about it, I felt disappointed.
Hmm.
So for me, I was like already set up. It was like when you're set up for something, you're much better when it actually happens, if you can, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But for guys that weren't set up like that, to go into TGAs and not to have anything but a Samsung Xbox Cloud commercial
Yeah.
definitely stung.
Yeah.
And I get the reason why people are upset, but in my greater judgment, I do believe that being that if they had known that, that means that they have something planned. And Aaron Greenberg's tweet saying that we're going to talk about it soon
Hmm.
just cues me to tell me they have something planned. They have to date these games. They haven't shown any kind of footage on Forza. So I do think that something's in the roadworks for that. How it's going to be a digital show, XO, I don't know. I'm not privy to any kind of inside information on that. But I do think they want to tell their story in 2023.
Hmm.
In 2023, and they have a lot of stuff that they can detail till E3, and that's the three AAAs: Redfall, Starfield, Forza.
Hmm.
Some of those games they definitely can show a lot more on Starfield. They could do a level. They can start the game off at a certain point, as you know, a
Yeah.
lot of times. Redfall, same deal, deep dive, and then Forza, they have to show. Uh, they have to show gameplay, which I've heard is amazing. So I heard
Mm.
that the graphical thing on that is like the bar is extremely high.
Hmm.
You're talking about ray tracing in game on Series S, something that
Mm.
Gran Turismo 7 didn't even have on the PS5. So it's pretty incredible stuff that they have. But they have to date those games. They also have an abundance of games hitting Game Pass, from Dark Tide in January to
Mhm.
Atomic Heart in February to um, there's a game in March. I forgot the name of it, but it's another big day one Game Pass games. Wulong
Oh,
Dynasty
yeah, yeah, yep.
in March, and then I believe that they have a deal with Show again. So Show is going to hit uh, the Game Pass day one. I think they have a deal with Major League Baseball
That's
again.
awesome. That's so
Um,
awesome.
and then they also have Stalker 2
Yeah,
and Minecraft Legends. So
yeah,
I'm giving you a lot of stuff that's in just a 6 month window. So
yeah.
so that's something's going to happen there. The dam is going to break on there. Xbox fans that were disappointed, I get it. And I apologize if if I wasn't the day of wasn't ready to take them to the cleaners. I'm just not ready to do that until they really do something to me that I really don't think that they have their head up their ass or something. I do think that they have a plan, and I'm
Right.
just waiting for it to unfold, and then a lot of things will make sense. But in that case, E3 will hit, and I'm just doing Xbox now because it's pretty much Xbox centric.
Yeah.
E3 will hit, and I do think that being that the Activision deal has been kind of on hold now, we're going to court. That actually is a good thing in a lot of Xbox. Well, for a lot of Xbox fans, I think, because I do think they're gonna slot something in the holiday. Well, like a Hellblade 2. I do know
Wow,
that they
nice.
have a plan B. I specifically asked that if this doesn't go through, do you guys have a plan B for the holiday and such? And the answer was yes.
Wow, that's
Obviously,
good.
we'll reach that road. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tremendous year for Xbox. They got Liza P. They got Benedict Fox game. They
Yeah,
got
so much amazing stuff coming.
yeah, they have really and a lot of people say, oh, you say the same thing. These games aren't like these games are not getting delayed. Like the big AAAs, they're not getting delayed out of 2023. No way. At worst, they'll get delayed out of the 6-month window. But I've heard Starfield's in a good place, so I think that's definitely going to be there. Forza's, they're just the Turn 10 is a tremendous developer, and they're already given 5 extra months or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think that all those games are going to hit in a relatively nice spot, and they're going to land them, and that'll be detailed short. But just 2023 in general is going to have a ton of games,
Yeah.
and that was because COVID, the COVID bubble did hit and hit a lot of games
Oh,
in
yeah.
2022, and then they got delayed to 2023. So overall, as a gamer, it's going to be, a paradise.
Oh,
Sony's,
yeah.
pretty strong. Their big thing is Spider-Man. It's going to be a huge hit. It's just they definitely have a critical thing where they have to hit that holiday because I think they'll have a tough time if Xbox has the year that they do, and then they don't respond. But I do know Xbox is going to have E3. I do, I'm already booked, so I'm
So
excited
awesome.
about that. That's a great experience. That's where I've met all the executives, had lunch with executives, dinners, met with
Nice.
Pinello, just people in general. And if you ever can get down there,
I've been to 2 of
whatever.
them, but it's been a long time. When I worked
I'd
for
love to
GameStop.
see you and hang out with you.
Oh,
And
me too, man. Be great.
I'm glad we're friends. And like I said, I honestly, I know I sound and I deserve some of the criticism, but listen, they've delayed the games in the end. I didn't. Everyone thought those games were going to come. Those 3 AAAs.
Right.
But now they're on they're on deck, and I think Xbox has a lot of stuff that they're ready to go ahead with. And if they do walk away from the Activision deal, which is definitely a possibility with the stuff that's going on, I expect a swift, fast response. Because I could tell you right now, and I felt bad for Phil. He went to E3. He went to the Game Awards and kept panning the picture on him, and he was a good sport. But that man has been, and I can tell you personally, as Xbox fans, that man has been overworked. It's not his fault. It's not Microsoft's fault. It's just circumstances. He's
Right.
been traveling to London, to New York, to LA, back to London.
Wow.
He's back there, I believe, now in London, and he's been on a crazy schedule. He's been to Japan this year, and it's been a hard year on him just because of the travels. And he's not complaining or anything. I just know because we do talk, and I do know sometimes when he's traveling, especially because I say, "Oh, we're playing Xbox." Oh, I'm in China right now, or I'm in Japan, or I'm in going
Wow.
this, But
Yeah.
his travel schedule has been when I tell you crazy. So it is coming to an end. I do believe he is going to have a little bit of vacation coming up. But yeah, man, that man has traveled so much, and I actually felt bad for him at the Game Awards because he
Oh
was
yeah.
you could see it. You could see
Yeah.
it's wearing on him, and that was the day 2 FTC of all. They blocks it, so
Yeah.
he's in addition to jet lagged and all the traveling, he gets that,
Got
and
all that
then
on his head, and yeah,
and that didn't
exactly.
stop him. And that
Mm-mm.
didn't stop him. This is the type of guy he is. And David or Robinson from VGC,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't stop him from hanging out with the fans, drinking with them after the show. That's the type of guy he is.
That's
So he
awesome.
wasn't running away like these players when they have a bad day. They run away from
Yeah.
the reporters. He was there, and he was taking questions and taking hard questions. And that's why, I'm a real big fan of Phil. He's always there. And, it's like people say, Tim, you're a shill in that. And there's been times when me and Phil had arguments. I basically in 2017 when everything was going crazy, he always has it. We had the argument. He always goes, he always reverts joking around. We'll talk about that, but it got pretty heated. But it's unheard of. But he and all of the executives have always had an open ear. And at the time, I used to always talk with Ybarra, and we would go back and forth about stuff. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always ass kissing, as somebody would say. It's
Right.
real talk.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
that's something that I'm grateful for, that they've actually let people like myself and others in the community, they talk to like like we matter, and that means a lot.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And it carries. I love Phil. I absolutely
He's
do.
awesome.
He is, and I still think that he just sometimes he just doesn't get. Some people give me like, "Well, fire Phil," and blah blah. I'm like, "Are you crazy?
I know.
Can you imagine where we would be without Phil? Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh, we wouldn't have Xbox probably, to be honest.
yeah,
So
agreed.
yeah, and I think he's awesome. And like you said earlier about about this year, the delays and everything, and people are
Mhm.
kind of like, but I mean, just think of how the games when they do come out,
I know.
the better place that they're going to be in because they've had
Yep.
this extra time to just focus and
Working
cram and
on two
oh
systems, PC and Xbox only.
yeah, exactly. And
It'll
oh
be
my god,
good.
and I mean, maybe I'm ignorant of this, but the new Forza game when it comes out, is it going to be next gen only?
Yes.
Oh, see, now
And
that
and it
to me
will
is awesome.
have in-game ray tracing. Now listen, in-game ray tracing on the Series X is actually very impressive. But to
Cool.
have in-game ray tracing on the Series S, where people are saying that's incapable, to accomplish that
Yeah.
is mind-boggling. And that's the you know that just talks about what type of developers that turn 10 is. They make it happen, and that's going to be a sight to behold. That's going to be really something special when you have a Series S doing in-game ray tracing. And from what I've heard, the back channels, the game looks phenomenal. Like it's definitely it's going to be they're going to set a bar for racing games. It's going to
So
be
excited.
something really special. That's my favorite. I like Horizon, but I
Hmm.
kind of like the professionalism or the simulation type
Yeah.
portion of Forza. I've always kind of liked that, and yeah, I think they're gonna be a 90 Metacritic big hit.
Man, from your lips to God's ears.
Yes.
I hope so. I hope so too, man. I tell you, and the next time you talk to your buddy Phil, please tell him that Outbreak Gamers absolutely will love him and support him. Everything he does, we greatly appreciate him.
Will do.
So thanks, man.
I always, listen. I always when I talk to Phil, and I know there's times where I don't want to bother him.
Right?
A
Yeah.
lot of times when I know, like kind of how I'm kind of privy to his, I privy to his schedule or
Hmm.
his traveling, is because if I know he's going to somewhere, and I know he's on some stressful stuff, I give him a week. But I always usually on a Friday, I'll be like, "What are you doing? Are you playing tonight?" And I know for like the next 2 weeks he's going to be traveling, but he's going on vacation, and then I'll probably be on every night. Or he's so welcoming. He likes me to come on. He likes Megatron to come on.
Yeah.
A Hitman is one of his favorite players. We explained that too. We were recently met up with some people, and we've become friends. And him and Megatron are super friends, and it's just great, like I said. But I definitely I tell everyone, I tell Phil about everyone in the community, especially people that he might not know. Or I always say, take a look. I sent him DMs, about send him this so and so, this guy, take a look at this, and believe me, Phil. He's like one of us. He knows everyone. He knows all the creators, and he watches the stuff. And he's a fan of Rand. He's a fan of Jez.
So cool.
He loves Jez, and I know Jez sometimes gets rattled because some people in the industry don't like Jez because,
right.
he like Josh Sawyer. I don't think likes Jez because, he broke some of his. Jez is the type of guy that if he hears something, he might report on it, and
right.
you're gonna piss off people that way, and
of course.
But that's part of his what he does, and
Mm-hmm.
can't really blame him. I don't think Albert liked Jez a lot, and I've always told, like, me and Albert Pinello, we're really close.
Nice.
We're close. We're still friends. We always talk. We would go to dinner if we're in LA, or lunch. I've had lunch with him, but he's doing great at Amazon. I'm to be honest, there's part of me that hope he comes back to Microsoft.
That'd be nice.
It'll be nice, yeah, and I think it's a possibility. But but like he at times was pissed at and I understand why he would be pissed at Jez, because Jez is basically telling all his things that he's upcoming, and here it's coming in on Windows Central, not from him. In the end, I think that they all have respect for each other. But yeah, Phil knows everyone in the community. As long as you show Phil respect, and like I said, the little story. Phil blocked me at once, and he tells the story too, because
I want to hear this.
I used to swear a lot, and like he said, Phil don't curse. As long as I've known him, in games, the worst he'll ever say is "gosh darn it," "dang it."
Yeah.
And he never curses, and especially in the presence of girls in the room.
Oh yeah.
He don't want swearing, and he will get pissed off if you swear. Sometimes I slip, but he'll be okay with it. But when I'm in the games with him, but when I was first on Twitter, like I explained, I was a maniac. I would use the F word, and I would talk about stuff that was crazy. And Phil was like, I like the guy, but the guy's just too over the top, and I can't have myself associated with that. So I had heard through the grapevines, because Aaron and Albert and others were like in my corner saying, listen, Tim is great. He's, his Twitter's great. He says the things sometimes we want to say, but we can't. But give him a second shot. And, he had me blocked, and at that time I had known, and then he unblocked me because K Alex, shout out to him. He asked Phil, I was just like, we were talking, and he said, I told him, I said, I'll be good, I won't curse, and because I had known that he was a stickler for that, and he unblocked me, and he didn't follow me right away, but from that day forward, I kind of left the Fs and the see you next Tuesdays and all the real harsh words. I might say shit, but I really left all those words by the wayside, and not as ferociously fighting the way I used to fight.
Right.
And I do think Phil noticed that, and then he followed me, and then one night we played Xbox together, and I think that he really kind of understood me. For who I was. A lot of people misjudge me. They think I'm, who's this guy? At the end of the day, Dave, I've been a 25, 26 year Verizon Communications, person.
Hmm.
I'm a family man. Never been suspended, never been arrested. I'm a
Right.
good person in the community. I'm not going to yell at somebody if they have a PlayStation. I'll hook their PlayStation up. You
Nice.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm in a way a model citizen. You know what I mean? I'm a good person, a very helpful person, selfless person too. So I think Phil kind of got that, and then he kind of really got to know me, and then more and more we've become friends, and then went to E3s together, went to dinners if he's in New York.
Hmm.
I mean, even Aaron Greenberg, same deal. He came to New York and he's like, "You want to go to a Giants game?" And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, I picked him up. We went to a Giants game, best seats I've
So
ever had
cool.
in my life.
Hell yeah.
Um, and I never told anybody about that. Really, I said that once on another podcast, but it's because we really, believe it or not, when we went to those games, we don't really talk about Xbox. We just talk like friends would. Like,
Yeah.
he's a big Raider fan. So at that time, he was on. I'm like making fun of his Raiders, and he's like making fun of my Giants, and
Nice.
we would talk about guys and drafts and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they're real people just like us, and I think people don't realize that until you see it. Kind of like you build up this image in your head when you don't know something, whether
Right.
it's so and so, but they're just people at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and they've definitely come across that way, and they've always treated me well.
That's awesome to hear, dude. I tell you, and I tell you what's really cool is that um, I think it's great that you kind of been given the opportunity to you know, I guess
See that?
to just see that side of them, to to know that, and then be able to to say it here. It's like hopefully other people will hear that and be like, okay, cool, instead of the let's give Phil a hard time kind of thing,
Yeah,
and
fire
Aaron and all
Phil,
them. Oh my, yeah, exactly. Every time I
fire
hear that,
Aaron.
hey, they're crazy, man. They're crazy. It's like you just
Yeah,
have no idea what they've done for
yeah.
gaming as a whole. If you really just step back, I mean, everything from the accessibility that
Hmm.
Phil pushed, to promoting within, and the diversity in Microsoft to this day
Yes.
is, I mean, it's legendary.
Women,
It's
people of,
because of Phil.
and listen, um, and they're dedicated to doing that. They want people, they want women, people of color, people of
Hmm.
different. You know, they don't want it to be the old, white male, the suit that it used to be.
Yeah,
Phil, like I said, he's a family man, and he's very fair, and he likes to give people a fair shot, and it's just they have a lot of diversity, and I think that that's a commendable, and I don't think that story is really told because if you take uh, the people, let's say, on their team, and you compare it to, let's just say, other video Sony or Nintendo, I think that you would really realize that Xbox kind of leading the way in that area.
hmm,
And as you mentioned, accessibility. I felt bad this year. Satya's son passed away, and
right.
he was handicapped, and that was just something that meant a lot to Satya. And when I can say that I met Satya, and I was actually we were in E3, we talked to him in a group. It was
Nice.
actually about Gears. Um, Going multiplat, which I was against. I was one of the few people in the room that was kind of against it, but that was kind of
Hmm.
the fanboy in me. Which looking back, I was, and Phil was right. He says you won't care when you get it on PC and it's in your library, and he's right because I still see that Gears 4, and it makes me always think to that point. But um, when I talked to Satya, I could realize he was never really a gamer. He didn't understand it,
Hmm.
or he understood the passion, as he would say. But I think that he was trying to get a sense of what it's really about and if it makes sense for Microsoft. So there was a time there that Phil, and people say, well, Phil should get fired, but there was a time that basically Phil sold Xbox to Satya, And that started in 2017 when the shit hit the fan. Basically, you
Mm-hmm.
had the guy that was in front of Phil. He was the executive. I forgot his name. Getting old, like I said.
Me too, buddy.
But he was basically in charge of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the shit hit the fan in December of 17 or January. It's December of 2016 in that year. They came into a lot of cancellation. Some hard decisions were made. Phil was kind of like not really being taken seriously, I feel. And then he basically went on, crusade's not really the word, but he went on this way of, selling Xbox, and it started
Mm-hmm.
with Game Pass, and it started with Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And, he then finally, it made sense to Satya when he heard the 2 billion gamers. And, we all laughed at Phil, including myself, kind of like 2 billion gamers. Come on, Phil. Like, you're getting a little over there. Now it's 3 billion, and now it makes sense. But
Yeah.
that's the type of thing that Phil, like, when I first talked to Phil, and some of the things that I remember, he would always talk in a way that it was hard to understand, but he understood things that were in the future, and he was like revved up further than I was, I guess, in understanding all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember him mentioning Tencent in 2017. I'm like, who the hell is Tencent? He's like, you'll see. And
Wow.
all the things that Phil said, hand to my heart right now, truth to God, came true. He was right all the way through. His
Wow.
vision was beyond his time. He knew all the stuff that's coming now was the future. In addition to selling Sati, he sold me. Because I kind of was just going along with it. So, obviously the guy has a plan, but he definitely had a very strong vision, and that vision prevailed, or it is prevailing, and it's at the point where it's, Sati is buying $67 billion deal, putting it
Yes.
into gaming, which is all you need to know.
Right.
They're ready to do what he wants, and that's a tribute all to Phil. That's all to Phil,
Yeah.
100%. Because I give Mike Nichols, and Mike Ybarra, those guys too were a part of that mind
Mm-hmm.
think share. But really, it was Phil who pushed it. He's always been, in a way, a little bit beyond his time. Or when he used to talk to me, like I said, certain things were hard to understand or conceptualize until I saw it. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you saw it, you kind of like all came sense. And now it's come to a head where I remember that talking to Phil back then before Game Pass or the day Game Pass went day and date, and God's honest truth, the guy was right. He was 100% right on all the stuff, and that's what a leader's about, and that's why Xbox was very lucky at the time to get him, because there were a lot of people that were up in the air. A lot of people thought maybe just get rid of Xbox. So
Right.
here we are, where instead of not having Xbox, we're dealing, hoping to get a $67 billion deal passed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
hope so too,
yeah,
man. Hope it
they're
works.
they're doing great, and I
Yes.
think even if the deal doesn't go through, they're going to spend somewhere else. So
Right. Right. And what was it they said? I mean, all right, let me I gotta play this little clip. It's the when Phil said this at the when Bethesda became official, and he has that little chuckle in his voice when he says this.
yeah,
This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
You just know in his heart he's just like, yes, that's so
yes.
awesome. That's so awesome.
And it's funny because at that time he was getting a lot of pressure, and it's also funny that that's now all tied into this whole shit with the Activision and stuff like
Right.
that. It's just it's been a roller coaster of a ride, and
Yeah.
I'm just very happy to have him as a leader, and I hope he stays for a long time. I know
Me too.
that some people like, oh, he's out of here. Activision is going to be his last play. There is going to come a time when Phil does retire,
Well, sure.
and I think that's been, if you read through the lines, like when he's asked, why don't you make a lifetime agreement with Sony or something like that. And it just says the reason why I can't do that is because somebody's gonna one day supersede me. Is gonna take
Mhm.
my job, and why should I put him in a corner where if he wants to do something here or there different? Obviously, COD's always going to be multi-plat, but
Right.
like that's why you don't make forever deals. And
Right.
in the business sense, you just don't. What if like Sony went like rogue, like Kanye West? Now I'm not. They're never going to do this, but
Right.
like did something stupid like that, and they're now getting blacklisted, or they're getting, as we say, canceled, and now you have to be obligated to work with that. There's always type of things, variables. If they wanted to go with a Unix based system that's completely horrendous to work with, that's gonna stunt the industry, that doesn't mean that you could you write that into contract. So you never, like I said, you never have a forever contract. 10 years, I think, is very fair.
Very
And,
generous.
very generous. But I don't know if that's going to get the deal done. I think that it's very tough to say. I think that they have a lot of battles, and they think they're going to win. So I guess we shall see.
Yeah, well, and you know what? And I hope they do. I really do. And it seems like they're not, throwing in the towel, as it
No,
were. And I believe that, I believe they had contingency plans for if this happens, we'll do this. If this
of
happens, we'll
course.
do this. So I mean, what any smart business, but I mean, and maybe in the long run, I guarantee in the long run, no matter what happens, um, that the
They're going to do
Microsoft,
something, yeah,
the Xbox brand is going to be in a better, stronger place
for
because
sure.
they fought for the gamers for what for
Yes.
what we deserve, and I think that's great. Game Pass is amazing, and
Yes.
I want the first thing a Game Pass to me, when I first heard about it was okay. I knew about it, but it didn't
Right.
really affect me or whatever. But then I took them up on that the all access
Dollar.
plan,
Yeah.
and of course it was included, and it was like, and then I was like, holy crap, this is great, and now I can't live without
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, it's like today. I was actually, I came into some reward money, and um
nice.
had some money left around, so I had like $60, whatever. I'm like, oh, I can buy a game. Whenever I get a little bit of extra money, especially if it's money that I just came by or whatever,
Hmm.
came into or whatever, change, like returning change or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You try
Oh
to be
yeah,
responsible. So I had like $70, $60. I'm like, you know what? I can get a game. So I had $70 to play with. So I'm looking digitally, and I'm like, oh, High on Life, I can get that. And I'm like, wait, that's in Game Pass. I'm like,
hmm.
day one. I'm like, oh shit. So I was like, yes, I got that game, and I wound up buying Need for Speed, the new one.
Hmm.
It was discounted through Ultimate to $62, and
Nice.
I bought it. But that's that's the beauty of Game Pass. It's like it gives you more flexibility to buy more games, to play more, and there's no denying that.
Mm-mm. And that's and I personally think that is the thing that scares Sony more than anything
Of
is day
course,
and dates in
of
their in Game
course.
Pass. I mean, they can cry about COD on this and all they want to. They just don't. They were like they just if they can stop it from coming into Game Pass, get some
It'll
kind
be fine.
of
100%.
yeah, they would be okay with that because
hundred percent.
that's
They're
what's gonna
scared of
hurt them.
that,
Yep. So,
and
but
I
we'll
don't.
see.
I don't think that that's 100% fair or a
Right.
strong argument. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I
Um,
don't. I
because the
exactly.
consumers in the end are going to suffer. If the deal doesn't go through, Nintendo's not going to get Call of Duty. People are like, oh, how are you going to get it to run on the Switch? You don't know what they have planned. Switch
Right.
2 is coming. You don't
Exactly.
know. Maybe they would have just put the campaign on it and it wouldn't have been multiplayer. I don't know. But if they
Mhm.
had a 10-year commitment, it might. Who knows? It might have took place when your first game's released, and then it's 10 years after that.
Right.
They weren't just making things up. Yeah, it was definitely something that they wanted to prove to regulators, and that still wasn't good enough. So, um, yeah, like it's going to be interesting because you could also take that 67 billion. I can argue, and one of the things I remember talking to a couple of executives, and they were like, this deal's so big. return on investment. They call ROI, as they were writing to me, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I had to look it up.
Right.
Return on investment is going to be like a real big problem. Like, when are you going to get that? 20 years from now? So there were people within the org that were like, even, questioning, like, what's the return on investment? How can we make this money back? Whereas, like, you can argue, if you take 67 billion, you could cut that in half. You can make money hat deals for, these big games that are coming out, whatever they are, and you could be even more of a problem to Sony that way than you are this way. This way, you're buying Candy Crush, which doesn't affect Sony. You're buying the Battlefront, whatever the storefront that they have. It doesn't really affect Sony. A lot of the stuff that they're getting from Activision Blizzard is not even in the console. It's not affecting their console.
Right.
Whereas if you put all that money, like if you put even half of that money, and you dedicated that to buying a smaller studio, making Game Pass day available, Witcher 4 day one, and then another big game. Let's just say if they made another.
GTA 6, maybe something like that.
GTA 6. I remember I said that. I
Crazy.
said take.
Yeah.
I mean, I said 1 billion, and then somebody's like, "Well, take probably 2 billion."
Yeah.
But yeah, $2 billion probably could get you on Game Pass day one.
Be
And
crazy,
just
wouldn't it?
imagine how much of a stir that would occur. They would definitely take market share back.
Oh yeah.
So Sony has to really be careful what they wish for, because if this deal that gets blocked, and I kind of I'm leaning towards it, I think it's gonna be very hard for it to pass. So I'm setting myself up now for it to not go
Right.
through. They're gonna have a pissed off Microsoft with a huge pocketbook, and they're gonna be basically open to do whatever the fuck they want. Excuse my language.
No, that's
They're
fine.
they're gonna be. They're gonna be able to spend whatever they want, and they're gonna
Yeah.
have zero backlash, because you know why? Well, you had what you had. You should have let them have Call of Duty and made it multi-plat, and now this is what you're dealing with.
Exactly.
So you basically they're just getting that completely handed to them. So be careful. The old saying is, "Be careful what you wish for," and I think that might apply here.
I really think you're right. I think you're onto it. I think you definitely you made a strong case for that. Like I said, there is a chance that things are gonna go our way in the long run, but we have to
I
be a
think
little
it's
patient.
50. It should be. Listen, if you go by law, it
Yeah.
really should pass. I
Oh,
think
exactly.
I really don't think that they have a strong, a strong case. I mean, you look at the platform sales of Call of Duty; they're like 60% on PlayStation. So it's
hmm
like, come on, and Xbox would take over this. This doesn't jettison them right up to number one. It puts them in the talk. There's
Right.
no monopoly talk. There's nothing here that they really can hang their hat on. It's just the only, I guess, the biggest thing is the size of the deal is what scares people. But if you really look at it, the deal is multifaceted. Like I say, you have Candy Crush. They're not going to be They won't even come close to being number one in mobile. They'll be a fraction
hmm
of the mobile market. Maybe something where they could actually compete and have that market competitive, because right now it's not. It's
Right.
Apple and it's Android. So there's a lot of things at play there that I think if you're fair about it, and they say law prevails, then law will prevail here. But I'm so turned off by the fact that it's become political.
Right.
There's 3 Democrats on it, and I'm a union worker, and I care about union workers. If this
hmm
deal don't go through, that's going to blow up the union for CWA and that deal that they have, because Activision on its own is going to be a lot harder to deal with than Microsoft, who's basically saying, "We'll let it go through." So, these so-called politicians that are saying that the deal is bad, really should consider everything, because the deal is really not that bad.
Right.
And know the numbers, know the things, because they're not backing up the arguments. And this was a complete political play, and it upsets me, because it's just the system that, as an American, we live by, and it's a system
Yeah.
that is constantly questioned. And this is the type of stuff why, like, it goes by partisan lines. Like, the Republicans just is like, no, like, this is not, why would you block this? And then 3 Democrats all have the same opinion, and they probably were told, or because I heard one of the Democrats was wavering on the to vote for this. You know
Mhm.
what happened?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren called that person. Bernie Sanders called that person, and deals were underhanded, and said, "You know what? Let's just fight this big business. We have to make a stand here."
Right.
And it just I don't think it was fair to Microsoft, especially how good they've been. They've been really good. People.
Yeah.
This isn't the 1990
No, it's a different
Internet
company.
Explorer, Microsoft, Bill Gates. I mean, talk about monopolies. That was okay. That's a talk then.
Yeah.
Now it's like there's so many publishers. The industry is huge.
Hmm.
And a lot of the things that grow are things like PUBG. You're going to tell me this industry is predictable, because it's not. Because you look at a developer like PUBG that made PUBG. They were nobody. They made that game, and now they're huge.
Hmm.
And that's just the way it should be.
Yeah.
And that's when you have a fair market. And right now, I think it is a fair market, and it's not like the whole deal would not affect that at all. It's just still going to be blossoming. It's still going to be, pumped up.
I agree. I agree with you. Tim, man, thank you, dude, for so much for being here today. As we start to wrap things up, I kind of want to just kind of get your I guess your opinion, or I guess on one last thing. I kind of
Sure.
ask everybody this, and first I want to preface this by saying, um, I'd like to know what game you are most looking forward to coming out and playing. A game that we already know about, and a game that's been announced. How's that? That way, I wouldn't get anybody in trouble with anything, kind of thing. We're
No,
talking
no.
about,
There's nothing that I know about that has been announced that
cool.
I'm looking for. I could tell you what I'm really looking forward to the most is the Like a Dragon sequel.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
played Yakuza 8 or whatever, or just let's just say Yakuza 8. That's
Hmm.
probably my number one, but close second, and maybe even takes first. Is Starfield really has me intrigued. I mean, I
Yeah,
was a huge fan of Elder Scrolls, and I really think they're going to hit this out of the ballpark. So 1A, 1-2, Starfield, and Yakuza. I think Starfield's going to hit. I'm dying to see some stuff on Starfield, so I hope they have this event and we can get some in depth. Like, let's start talking about this stuff.
yeah.
There's so much involved, and I've asked internally about Starfield, and I'll tell you this much:
Okay.
they're taking it personal. They want this to be basically a thank you and a bid farewell to Robert Altman, who's
Wow.
the owner of Bethesda,
Hmm.
and they loved him very much.
Yes.
And Todd has basically, take this under his wing, and this is his baby, as they would say.
Hmm.
And there is something to be said for somebody like that. Like, he made games like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and it was his Fallout 76. Come on.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this guy made Elder Scrolls, guy that made
Hmm.
Fallout, and this is his next big thing. And I think that it's his biggest project easily. And, there's a lot of pride taken into this. And that's why, like we talked about, the delay, which was so tough. But you said it best. You know that they delayed it, but you know they're going to come in, and they're going to be, that much better. And I can
Yeah.
tell you, for the truth of the matter is that it's in a good place. It's definitely you're definitely not getting a delay out of 2024. That's not happening. They're strategically going to place it. I think it's definitely ahead of. It could be ahead of even Forza. It might be the number one slated, but obviously you're going to place that strategically. It could be
Mhm.
right by E3 would be perfect. But yeah, that I'm going to say that is that and Yakuza 8 is super excited about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, you got me fired up and excited. That's for sure. Tim, thank
Yeah.
you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time today. I know your time is precious, and I really do greatly appreciate it. And I know everybody listening to this is gonna love getting to know more about you and your insight and your journey on these in the gaming community. And if you don't mind, just kind of tell people where they can find you, where they can where they can reach out to you.
Xbox Cloud TIMDOG on Xbox Live or Xbox Network, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
and Xbox TIMDOG on Twitter. And from there, you'll follow me, you'll know me. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure. I will
Thank you.
definitely be back, and maybe one
Awesome.
day we'll hook up on Xbox, and maybe you'll meet Phil. Who knows? He
Wow.
definitely plays a lot.
I
So
would love to just play with you. That would be an honor in itself, right there,
that's a
man.
done deal. That's gonna happen. But thank you
Awesome,
for
Tim.
having me, brother.
Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody for joining us today on this episode of Outbreak Gamers.